Welcome back to another trade recap, I guess. It's not the way I wanted to start the week, but it's the way we've started the week, and it's a bad one in terms of my risk for what I want it to be, but it's not a bad one in the grand scheme of things. We're still risking 1% of the account per account. It was about $900 per account, 2,710 on the day, I believe. And yeah, just a tough day. Probably one of the toughest I've had in a while mentally. Just took two trades. First one, didn't think was a bad trade, pretty much got stopped out instantly. Not instantly, within like the first minute though, pretty quick. And then the second one was just convinced that it was going to go a certain way, wanted to manage my risk tighter. So I was always going to move to break even a bit quicker. And it just reversed and went against me. Now I think having a look back, I understand why. And I was actually dreading putting this video up, but I think I need to remember that this whole process for me putting these videos and putting them on is to understand it myself and learn for myself a bit more. So it's not embarrassing. I think I had that mindset earlier on when I took the loss. I was like, fuck's sake, got to go and record another loss. But you know what? I'm not embarrassed by it at all. This is for my progress. This is for my journey, um, and this is just a part of trading now. The month is looking bad. I'll be honest, but having said that, on a 2-1 win, we're probably going to be making that back. On average, we're risking about 400, 450, sometimes 500, around that range anyway, which, across the three accounts is pretty much that profit back. So then, you take this out and you're you're back in the game for the month. So it's not all doom and gloom. There's better ways to look at it. And, my all-time record up here, 51% win rate. And, you know, we're up $12,000 since the start of the year. So, and if you look at the chart here, this is just like an equity curve. This will just show you that you have these up and down moments, and this is just profit going up, then down, then up, then down. It's having a bit of a down at the moment, but eventually you'll have this trend where you come up again, and it's just riding out this wave and seeing through it. And staying mentally focused. And this is where I say, your mental game in trading is probably your biggest asset into becoming profitable, because you're going to have these moments where you come down, but how do you handle it? And if you don't know how to accept a loss, or accept a losing streak, or manage your risk in these moments instead of just throwing the account away, you're just not going to be profitable. It's as plain and simple as that. So for me, I will get through it. It's just hopefully I get through it sooner rather than later. I'll put a screenshot of the account balances up now, because one of them is at like 96,900. So within the next two trades, I definitely need a win on that account. The other ones, obviously, because of TradeSync, are lagging behind on I think a couple of trades now. We've obviously luckily got away with them two, so them two have got a bit more leniency on them. But yeah, we'll see what happens in the next coming days, the next week. My goal for this week is just to stay positive, keep the accounts alive, and then really build on it going into the final 2 weeks of the month, and just seeing where it takes us. So I'm taking it step by step. Again, it's about the bigger picture. This could all change if I go positive for the rest of the week now. We could be sat here on Friday looking at a totally different scenario, totally different situation. So we're just going to see what the rest of the week brings, and take it step by step. Now, in terms of today's trade and what I took, like I say, I took two different trades. I was just, absolutely not convinced, but I was convinced. But in fact, I was definitely convinced, which is why I took two trades. Usually, I would never take two trades. It'd be one and done. I just thought that the way price was moving both on NQ and also ES, I just thought we're definitely going to move lower towards the targets I had. I'll go through everything in a moment. Now, coming into session, obviously we'd on Friday we'd had this big move down. Now we traded back up into these ranges. We were expecting, 1 hour gaps. We'd moved higher. We'd swept out Asia highs. We had broke structure to the upside, but I think all in all, there was quite a lot to go through. And I think a common trend is on a Monday, especially when I'm with a big move down like this, price does want to retrace quite a bit. So maybe should have considered that a little bit more. But I think for what price was showing me on the lower time frames paired with this high time frame bias of being bearish, then I think, I was quite right to take the trade I did. So we'll hop down. So obviously the hourly, for me coming into session, I was open to longs, but only if it presented itself. I think the way it ended up doing so, it only led me to taking, a short. So we come into session and we broke structure to the downside on the 15 minutes. So on this candle here, we broke structure to the downside. We took out this 15-minute low, but when we did that, we opened up a 5-minute gap, which I've got marked out here. So you can see this 5-minute gap opened up. We'd moved below this this level, and yes, we were in this 5-minute gaps range here. But if price had inversed this gap here and moved higher, I would have been for sure looking for a long out of this probably. But we didn't. We come into this range, we respected it. And what did we do? We came down, broke structure again, and we looked like we were going to be taking. Well, we did take shorts, but that's the reason why, because we had this 5-minute gap here. We respected it, moved lower off that. Now I just wanted to see something where we could take something off of that. So let's have a look. So like I said, we moved down into this range, and what did we do? Come off that 5-minute gap, and we were respecting this range here, this 1-minute gap here. So I actually did want price to come up as high as this, but when we respected this range, we'd obviously already respected that 5-minute gap here. I just thought that these 5-minute targets over to the left here. Yep. So we had 1, 2, 3, and then we had this hourly low here as well, all stacked up on top of each other. So my idea coming into this first trade was obviously we'd broke structure on a 15-minute, respected that 5-minute bearish gap, and then we moved into this 1-minute range. And obviously what we did off that was we inversed this 1-minute gap here as well. So we respected that 1-minute bearish structure, and then we inverse this gap here. So I entered off this candle here. Obviously I've got this red line below here, so when price broke below this level and broke structure again down to the upside, the downside, sorry, that's why I was going to make my stops to break even, just manage it tightly. And you can see that the very next candle to which I entered on, because obviously I entered on this candle here, price just literally ran straight up, took me out, and I think that first trade was like minus 500, I want to say. Now, the reason why we entered again is you'll see that on NQ, we were respecting this range here, so ignore all of these. This range here was my second trade, so we were respecting this gap, and you can see that I had this level marked out. Now, in theory, probably should have waited for NQ to break structure and then enter, but the reason why I did enter is because we were respecting this range. We weren't moving any higher than it. And then on ES, you'll see that we did break structure back down to the downside on this candle closure here. So we moved back down. I waited for a small retrace, and when we entered into this gap here, I just had that limit order set just to take that trade, because I would have taken it on this candle anyway. It was just the risk was far too much down here. So I waited on a small retrace. We got it, and we were respecting that gap on NQ. And I had this low marked out here because, again, when we broke structure, well, if we broke structure, I was just going to move my stop loss to break even. Obviously, with us being on that second trade, I just wanted to manage that risk even tighter than usual. And you can see that we didn't. We just reversed, and went and took me out again for a very, very, very tough learning experience for me today. Um, and that's really all there is to it. I'm not absolutely devastated by my trades. And again, I said this last week on Friday. I think my trades I wasn't unhappy with. I'm not unhappy with the way I'm trading. It's just it seems to be not going again. Well, not going for me at the moment. Now, the reason why I think we moved higher was because when we made this move down, we were still respecting this 15-minute gap here, this 15-minute bullish gap there. We hadn't closed below it. We were respecting it. And then, off of that, we broke structures to the upside. We eventually did inverse this range here. So there's things that I maybe could have looked out for. Probably could have looked down and seen this 15-minute gap here, but I just think that because we were expecting this 5-minute range here, and then we broke structure back to the downside, these 5-minute lows stacked up against here with hourly lows and London low below them. I just thought that we would move lower to take those out, and I thought it would at least give me a chance to manage my risk as much as at least breaking it to break even when we broke structure on this candle here. But I mean, this first trade was just super unfortunate. I obviously, in hindsight, wish I hadn't entered again, but I thought the bias was so bearish that that risk was fine. And look, like I said to you at the start of the video, that we're still risking less than 1% today. So in the grand scheme of things, it's not that bad. It's just bad because we've lost what, three, one, two, yeah, four. So we lost four in the last week, since last Monday. Obviously, we've got the two break-even days, which contributes to this. We have only lost four, and obviously, them losses, these two losses here, the break-even ones, do go into this as well. So, it is slightly higher than a 51% win rate, all in all. But yeah, that is my trade today. That's what I took. Definitely stuff to work on, and there's definitely stuff that we need to work on for the rest of the week. To turn this shit around. So we will see what we can do. But like I said, this is all about taking responsibility, all about owning up to mistakes, all about learning, taking these lessons in, and taking accountability. I'm the one sat behind my phone or the computer, whatever it is. I'm the one pressing buy and sell. So I can only really blame myself, And this is what it's for, just learning these lessons and riding this wave, and hopefully we'll turn it round. So we'll see what the rest of the week brings. And yeah, we will go from there. I'm going to make this short and sweet on this one today. I think I've gone through everything I want to, obviously covering the trades. And yeah, we're going to try and bounce this back because mentally it is tough. And hopefully anyone that watches this gets to see this, because I think a lot of stuff online from, not from everyone, I think there is definitely people out there that will show you the losses, the wins, all the profits, all the losses, whatever. They'll be transparent with you. But, there's quite a lot out there that just show you wins and just show you all the good moments. And there's definitely these moments within any trader, that you have to go through. You have to ride the wave a little bit, and this is one of those moments. So hopefully we'll get through it together. Hopefully I'll be able to show you that it can be turned around, because it definitely can, and it only takes one or two trades. So I'm hoping I get that chance to show you all. And yeah, we're gonna leave it there. So I will catch you in the next one. Like, subscribe, comment, leave any suggestions or tips you have. Always open to learning. So if you've got anything for me, anything that you saw out of today, out of this session that maybe I missed, please do let me know. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.